Hey everyone, this is Nick from Houseplant. Today I'm going to be going through my full collection. This is going to be the end of summer sort of growth, updates, everything tour. So without further ado, let's get into a full collection tour. Okay, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to bring the plants out and show you guys here. That way we get to see them, from all angles, well lit. I think before I show each section of the tent, I'm going to put up a picture so you can see what they look like in situ. But otherwise I'm going to do it out here. Okay, we're going to go through some of these pretty fast, but I will be lingering on the good ones. So here we've got a Longissimalobum that we have. The cat is screaming at me. Next to it we've got this little Andrianum. It's growing well. I have it in the no drainage. Same with this one. I do keep some plants still in the no drainage, usually the ones that leathery and pretty hardy. He just needs some attention. I'm trying to climb my leg, so. Next up we have a PAP A+ crossed with an Antolecii. This is actually from Dustin over at Pag's Plants. Yeah, really nice plant, dark velvet. What's not to love with a PAP BVEP? I feel like it's one of those classic crosses. And I got this guy in a trade actually with him. Finally seems to be doing well. It was on the struggle bus until I moved it into the tree fern bark and pond mix. Before that I had it in pond and I just wasn't having any success with it. But ever since the switch it's been growing great again for me. Bunch of random Halomycans props. Next up we have this red crystallinum from Tazula, but it's actually one with a purple coloring and emergent. This is the most recent leaf. It does look like it finally switched to caterpillar. I don't know if the color's going to show. Yeah, it's a very pretty plant. It's doing well. It's settled in, getting some good growth on it. Probably will be a little bit of a wait still for it to flower. These guys tend to sit at caterpillar for a while before they flower. A purple emergent red crystal. Okay, next up is the Tazula red crystal with a red emergent. This one at least has an emergent so you can really see the color of it. It's not going to be quite as saturated on camera as it is in person, but do my best to show. Yeah, it's a little stunner. The hardened down color is also super good. Very cute red emergent Tazula red crystal. Okay, next up after that we have my Philodendron golden dragon. I'm obsessed with this plant. A little overexposed, but whatever. See, it has so much variegation. It's great. It's covered in EFN, so I'm getting all sticky while touching it. Love this plant. It's really doing great now that it's settled in. I got this plant because I was too lazy to mature a Florida Beauty. And this one kind of gives you that mature Florida Beauty shape right off the bat. And I also prefer the more white color that it gets. Very pleased with how it's growing. And it looks like the next leaf I'm going to get is going to be very, very variegated with only a little bit of green. Really cool plant, and it's doing a good job rooting. This one had a great time this summer, putting out a bunch of new leaves in my care, so I look forward to seeing what it does the next few months. I don't really plan on chopping this guy. I think I might, obviously if it ever reverts, but I think until then I'm going to let it just do its thing. This is a prop of my RA5 Self. I moved it out of the bins into the tent because I was having problems with it melting its new growth. This side has the prop I took from the mother plant. These are the leaves from that. And here is, I think, the third or fourth leaf it's attempted to put out. This is the first time it's actually held, so I look forward to it continuing to hopefully grow a little bit better now that it's in the tent as opposed to the bins. I find PAP props, once they have leaves, they don't really necessarily enjoy the bins as much as they like the tent. And the last plant on that top left shelf is this Forgetii crossed with a red crystal from Woohoo Tropicals. You can see it really took after the red crystal. It gets the red veining and everything. This lobe is just a little bit warped, but I think that was just damage to the emergent. You can see, great color. Very happy I've held on to this plant. I'm kind of excited to see what it turns into, and I might even start breeding with it, I think. Forgetii X red crystal. Okay, now we're moving on to the top right shelf in that tent. First off, we've got a Monstera Esqueleto. Only had this one for maybe a month or two now. It's doing great. It's sizing nicely. It's rooted really well. I'm really just surprised at how vigorous this plant is. It's been really great. I'm hoping I can continue to grow it in this pot for a little bit longer, but I do know I eventually need to get it on a pole. However, for now I'm enjoying it just being in this pot. And the roots are crazy too. Next to it we've got this little red crystal X Self, the Woo 5 X Self from Woohoo Tropicals. I moved it into this 32 ounce container, no drainage. I previously had it in one of those 3.5 inch net pots with the reservoir setup. However, clearly stunted. It was past needing a repot, so it can grow out its roots a bit more. I did move it into this, just so I can potentially size it up and get it going again. Looks like it has a new leaf on the way, so I guess it is happy and doing all right ever since the repot. Here we have a Magnificum crossed with a BVEP from Dustin, Houseplant. It's doing good. I'm excited for this one to see how big I can get it. So, got a pretty crazy root system. Might need to give it a nut pot again soon, but I'm hoping I can get a little bit more size out of it in this pot and really see what this plant will turn into. And yeah, because mags get really big. That's why I'm interested in the size of this hybrid. Should add that. Next we have the first of very few Hoya. This is my Wilbur Graves China, and I got this from Natasha, the Planted in Platinum. I am really enjoying this plant. I quite like the brightness of the silver and the fact that it does stress almost a lavender color. It's very nice. And since it's a carnosa, you know, it grows so great. Definitely really appreciate it. I'm starting to like appreciate Hoya a little bit more as I've had a good time growing these the couple I do have, or I've had for a while. Yeah, I'm just like realizing how quickly Hoya can really grow and how much they like to branch when they're getting, you know, good feed and good light. Okay, here we have my Monstera Mint. Here, this is the mintiest leaf, I think. It's a really good plant. It's been growing at a good pace. It has another leaf on the way, and it just hardened this one, so that's exciting. Hopefully it has a little bit more color than this leaf, but the stem is nice and marbled, and I can see the growing eyes, and they're in good spots. So if it, you know, doesn't gain the color I'm looking for, in a few leaves I do plan on propping it anyway. That way I can hopefully activate a bud in a spot with lots of variegation and get a plant that's a little bit more minty than this one. You can see it has a really funny little root thing popping off. I don't know if it's going to focus too well, but whatever. Yeah, it's doing well here in the pond, doing what I like to do where I just have my Monstera grow back over themselves like this, and I find it just lets you root a bunch of the nodes straight down and helps the plant present in a pretty way. Here we have a pretty new addition. This is a Hoya globulosa, and again from Natasha. She was really nice and gifted this to me in a plant trade. So I've only had it for like a week, so I don't really have much to say to it. Just got it jerry-rigged since it's one leaf and I want it to hold still while it's rooting. Here we've got an Anthurium Aces Fades crossed with a BVEP, the one that was doing the flat sinus thing. Now that it's matured, it actually did this leaf, so I'm a little bit curious to see what the next leaf will look like, but you can see it still has the same vein structure. It just gained a lot of roundness on this leaf, and I don't know if that's the BVEP, because I found with BVEP they do like to do this fattening up thing when they get to a certain size. And then I've got a bowl of strawberry shake cuttings just in water. Oh wow, lots and lots and lots of root growth going on in here, and pretty happy. Sometimes it's easiest just to do a handful of cuttings in water. Here we've got my Hoya caudata Sumatra. It's not as silver as it should be, and that's just because I wasn't giving it enough light until recently, and I think even now I could give it more light. I don't have any extra light bars up there right now. Might work on that, might not, I don't know. But see, cute Hoya. I don't know. This was my first Hoya after I, got rid of my first couple Hoya that I got at the start of my plant hobby. And I got it because it has very hairy flowers, and I was curious to see that. I'm hoping to get a peduncle at some point, which is why I have actually like upped the light it was getting. But in the meantime, I'm happy with just the fuzzy leaves and hopefully starting to get back some of that silver it gets. And then my fourth and final Hoya is this Hoya Thomsonii white flower. That was the other part of a trade I did with Natasha. So this is another one of those hairy Hoya, and I love the fuzz. So yeah, I'm very excited to keep growing this one. There is my fourth and final Hoya. Last plant on that shelf is this Anthurium blue pappy crossed with Anthurium red spider. And I picked this one up at the My Secret Plant Show in Vancouver last weekend. Yeah, pretty interesting. I picked it up because it has that, very cupped fused sinus shape. So I'm curious to see what it will mature into and potentially, breed with it. Since the, a dark leaf with fused sinus is always nice to breed with. Here's this blue pap crossed with a red spider. Okay, that's the top two shelves. Now we're going to move on to the middle ones. Okay, we got a little El Chaco red or Rubra juvenilum prop, what I should say. Cute red backs, cute little Chaco. Okay, now we have a red beauty crossed with a magnificum. This is a Dustin hybrid, very neat. I am honestly most excited to see what this thing's flower looks like. The red beauty it comes from has the most insane spathes, like larger than the leaves and just a very deep red color. So I'm curious to see what the spathes look like when this thing gets to flowering. But yeah, until then it has nice dark foliage. Here we have a Forgetii crossed with a luxurians from Somia at the Northern Plant Room. Beautiful dark foliage and almost peltate. It's now sort of losing that, but I think that's just the lux shape coming to dominate as the plant matures. This leaf is still darkening up, but it was an emergent not too long ago. One fun thing about this plant that I really wasn't expecting is its flower has the strongest rose scent ever. It is literally like standing in the middle of a rose garden when this plant is in bloom. It is such a potent fragrance, and it's incredible. I absolutely love this plant, and it's getting really big. This pot's quite heavy. It's got a lot of roots in here. I did attempt to pollinate it with Forgetii, so that would make it a Forgetii Lux Forgetii, but the inflow is moving super slowly, so I'm not too sure what's going to happen with it. But here is that plant. Really nice. Next we have this Bessiaea. This is from Kate, Young Plant House. Nice, dark, this, smaller, rounder form of the Bessiaea. It's got nice reddish petioles. I guess you can show it here. This plant is at Cataphyll. Yeah, so I'm very excited to breed this Bessiaea with the smaller, rounder species, things like the Carla, the Ace, etc. Since it has a very, I think, complementary shape to those. This leaf is an emergent. It'll darken down significantly to a color like this. Yeah, here's that Bessiaea. Here are some Quechua Queen props. It's a hybrid of Marmoratum and Rugulosum created by Giovannini. Good plant. It grows really fast, and it gets quite large. It does get a little bit crispy if you piss it off. That's just, the Rugulosum coming through. But it's very neat plant. I don't know how well the texture is going to be coming through on camera, but it has a very, pebbly texture and almost a sub-velvet feel. Here we have my SP Morona. Doesn't really look like much yet, but it should get some nice texturing as it continues to mature. I do need to move it into a spot with more light, I think, to get it to size really well for me, but until I find a good spot for it, it's gonna live in purgatory there. Good straps. Yeah, it really just looks like any other strap leaf Anthurium at this point. This is one of the ones I'm hoping to give a glow up to before too long, but I am experimenting with something that should hopefully come in the mail soon. Until then, I can't really do anything with it, and once I do what I'm planning to do, it'll all make sense. Here we've got Forgetii. Has, lots of veins and stuff. This is its newest leaf. It got a little bit beat up coming out, and I gave it a repot, but otherwise the plant's doing fine. It's been flowering for me, not really doing anything or planning to do anything with it. Like I said, if it got the veining, which it has pretty strongly, probably wasn't going to hold on to it. And that's simply because I want something out of the veins for breeding with. Here's my Quermalence. It looks awful because it lives in the back corner of the tent and it dries out very quickly, and I don't keep on top of its watering. It's dry again. It gets too big, I don't have a spot for it. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I really should take a little bit better care of it, but I haven't been as on top of its waterings as I should be. But that's on me. It's still growing great. It's not the fastest, it's not the slowest. Last up on that shelf is this Regal. This is still the import leaf. It failed its first leaf because I was letting it dry out way too much, so I gave it a big up pot. It's now working on another leaf. Hopefully, since it will have access to consistent moisture now, after the up pot, when it puts out this leaf, it won't fail to expand it. But thankfully it's held on to this leaf here for a good long time, and it's been managed to fuel really good root growth, and now hopefully a leaf or two before it gets sucked back. But yeah, here is that Regal. Now on the back space between the two shelves, I've Petrucea here, very pretty philodendron, and since I have it up high, it sort of just sits there like this. And I'm hoping, it'll continue to grow the nice strappy leaves down and I get some more ripples, but pretty happy with the plant. And also keep this pot of Halomycans. It's going a little bit crazy. I think there's three growth points in this. I'm not quite sure. It might have also, I think it's also branched. Going a little bit crazy. I love the just absolute insanity of the combination of variegation plus the full basket look. Okay, and I also have my variegated heartleaf philodendron there. I'm a big fan of the speckling variegation that this gets. Yeah, just a little variegated heartleaf. Not much to say. Okay, now we're moving on to the middle shelf on the left side of the tent. First off, we have this Villaneorm. It's flowering. I did attempt to pollinate it. We'll see if anything comes of it. It's still too early to tell. It's doing a new leaf. It's a little bit mangy. It's seems to be doing all right. And I'm hoping now that it's a little bit more established and settling in, the new growth is a little bit prettier. But yeah, I was very surprised how small this plant flowers. I assumed it was a larger one. Clearly, it flowers at a very good size. Right, and I'm very excited to hybridize with this because I think pretty much like every Villeneorum hybrid I've seen has been super dark. It'll be fun to play around with that. And the other small one I have on that shelf is my crystallinum. So this is one of my first anthurium actually. It's got another leaf on the way, but like I say, one of my first anthurium. I still really appreciate it. I love how it looks sitting in that back corner next to the Bessiaeaf in front of the bucket. It's a good plant, good grower. It used to flower. I since down potted it, chopped it back a bit. I don't know. Good plant. Don't really have any breeding plans with it since the red crystals are flowering, but, or not the red crystals, the Wonder Boy is flowering, but there was a time I did do some breeding with it. Yeah, very pretty plant. Now we're on to the heavy ones that also have leaves and inflows I don't want to break. First off, we have my Papilolaminum regardens, the previous leaf right there front and center. It's inflow. And around on this side we've got an emergent leaf. Very pretty plant. It's got those great lobes. I think that inflow is probably going to be receptive tomorrow. I do have plans for it. I'm not going to tell you guys. But this plant has been doing great now that it's settled into this pot. There's a little bit of a hiatus while it was settling in, but that's to be expected with these anthurium, but just in time for winter, so I should get to do lots of fun hybrids and different things with it this winter. Yeah, first the hard ones to get out. The Anthurium Wonder Boy. Yeah, this looks, I hope the red's showing up on camera. This emergent has a beautiful pink and red veining. Big boy, absolutely love this plant. Yeah, like I was saying, it is actually starting to work on its first flower for me. So that's really exciting. I've been growing this one for a little while now. So it's good to see it finally going to be able to put to use in some hybrids. This is the Anthurium Wonder Boy. And for those of you, I know I've said this a few times, but the Anthurium Wonder Boy is the plant that was used to breed the docks and the red crystals, and it was originally created by Tim Anderson. What exactly it is was lost. Tim Anderson didn't record what it was created using. Last up on that shelf, we have my Anthurium Bessiaeaf. So this is the other Bessiaeaf. It's a little bit different shape and appearance from the one I showed you earlier from Kate. Yeah, it's got a big inflow on it with some Fort Sherman pollen. It's working on a new leaf, another new inflow. It's a beast. It's a beast of a plant. Obviously one of our favorites. It's dark, it's beautiful. When it's juvenile, it has a very wide, almost flat sinus. It's just an all-around great bess, and it imparts beautiful traits in its hybrids. Lots of very wide sinus babies come from this plant, which is really exciting to see when you're breeding. Beautiful plant. It was a bit of a struggle with, it had I think a case of flat mites if I had to guess. So it was good getting to get rid of those, and thankfully this plant didn't miss a beat, didn't really seem to care at all. And it's now been a couple months since I've seen any mites on it, thankfully. But yeah, great plant. Love this Bessiaeaf. And it's a little bit different from the ones you normally see around. Okay, now we are doing the bottom right side of the left tent. Now we've got the RA5 Sulph. I showed a prop of this plant earlier. It's holding an inflow, hopefully pollinated with the Voldemort itself. But here we've got an emergent leaf. The red is showing up decently on camera. That's exciting. Yeah, and here is the previous couple leaves. It's an absolutely great plant. It's been so good at growing. It's really big and established in this pot. I'm excited to do some hybrids with it. Yeah, here's this RA5 Sulph. It's getting big. All the paps are getting big. I have my, I almost said Anthurium, my Monstera White Monster, created by Kunzo. You can see it's crawling along substrate there, but it's not the whitest one you've seen. I'm really hoping for more leaves like this, but the great thing about this plant is you just have to give it a prop and it puts out lots of nice white, usually. But yeah, got it growing here in the chunky aroid mix. It's doing some huge roots. I know, it's a deliciosa, it's great to grow. Got my main philodendron El Chaco here. It's getting back to being big. Good plant, I love the El Chaco. They stay so polite and they just, the beautiful red backs. I always say they're very Anthurium-esque for philodendron, as far as philodendrons go. Here's another plant I picked up at the My Secret Plant show. It's a large form Aurea, so I'm excited to be growing this one. I don't want to move it around too much since it is just rooting. Really nice large form Aurea. I love the large form deliciosa. I think it's just much easier for me to grow personally. On the floor between the two shelves, we have this Anthurium SP Napo. Gotten absolutely monstrous. It's just a beast. I don't know what to tell you. I can barely keep this thing in frame. Yeah, good plant. Tempting to do hybrids with it, but in the meantime, it's absolutely taken over its area of the tent. Like, it's getting ridiculous. Here we've got an Anthurium clarinervium. Lives on neglect in the back corner. Don't really have any breeding plans with it. Thus I'm keeping it very small. Oh, and the reason it has so few leaves is I chop off all of its other leaves so that it doesn't take up very much space. Next, and I've moved on to the bottom left shelf of the left tent, we have my Anthurium King of Spades, or Anthurium HU. You know, huge, beautiful plant. Oh, what is there to say? It's got great color, shape, veins, like, it does a little bit of everything. Has very pretty emergence. It's got some damage on the front here, and that's just from me sitting on it. This leaf overhangs the area where I stand when I'm in that tent, so it took quite a bit of beating and scuffing on the front when it was an emergent. This plant, if I mess with it at all, it takes forever and ever to get going again. The theme for a lot of the plants I moved into buckets is they sort of stalled out for a few months, but this one just takes it to the next level. Like, it's one of my oldest Anthurium, and one time I cut it and it literally didn't grow for, gosh, like at least 6 months. And then after this repotted again took like forever and ever. But, you know, now it's established, I don't have to touch it for a while. We should be hopefully in business. Great plant, very hardy. Next we got one of my personal favorites, and this is my Anthurium rhodolantianum. You can see the flower here. It's purple, but not really showing it right now. I did attempt to pollinate it with Papilla laminum. That's just because that's one of the hybrids that I've seen successfully done with this plant. So whenever I'm starting out, I like to try with what's known. I know, however, that this plant is prone to producing berries with no seeds. So I definitely won't expect anything until I am harvesting and seeing whether or not there's seeds. But I figured it'd be fun to give it a try. I'm still waiting on it to potentially produce any pollen. I cut off the previous flower before it got to the pollen producing phase, so I've yet to see what the pollen looks like. But that's something that I can look forward to. Now this plant, it has the most crazy texture, and it is velvet. It's wonderful. Yeah, really good grower once it gets going, but it can be a little bit slow to establish, and in my experience, a little bit slow to prop. Great plant, and now that it's going, it's doing like leaf after leaf, which is great to see. Yeah, a lot of that comes down to it just building a monster root system in this net pot. We have the last plant in that tent, and it's my Anthurium Dark Phoenix from Hector. It's just a Canadian breeder. He's done lots of stuff with the Dark Phoenix. See, it's got an emergent leaf there. I think this is the most recent leaf. It hasn't flowered for me yet, but it's gotten pretty beefy. Here is that Dark Phoenix. I don't know what else there's to say on it. I'm at a bit of a crossroads with it. I can't decide whether or not I'm going to keep it and breed with it, or if I should, try and sell it as a big plant, or if I should chop it up and, sell props once they sprout. I haven't really decided yet. And my thinking is I have too many paps, and I need, ideally, the space this plant occupies for a different pap. But, I'm not saying this is a pap, sorry, let me make that clear. I just think it feels like that very, pap-esque, niche in my collection. Now we're on to the main tent. This one right behind me, and I think I'm going to start with up high and work my way down. I'm going to step all the way back for this. First up we have my NSE Wenlingeri. Just so you guys can get an idea of the size. It's got a beautiful flower out front, the typical corkscrew the Wenlingeri is known for. Beautiful pleating. And this is the same one that was in my propping Wenlingeri video. It's since absolutely taken over the pot and obviously thrown a flower, so really no harm or foul done on that prop, even with how aggressive it was. This plant, I swear, is bulletproof. It's just fun to see the flowers. It's because they come out straight, and then you get to watch them sort of swing around and just turn into this pig's tail. It's pretty cool. Big fan of this plant. Definitely makes me want to play around some more with Wenlingeri. Chopsticks are in here because it was a essentially rootless top cut, so I used them to hold the cutting in place in the pot because it had all these leaves, so it was obviously trying to pull itself out of the pot, And these did the trick while it was rooting. It's since rooted. We have a pallidiforum. It's also crazy long. Great little plant. This leaf is an emergent. Getting huge. I think it's finally past the 1 linguari in length. Super narrow for a pallidiforum. Very pleased with how it's growing. I've started trying to do some hybrids with it. I'm really looking forward to potentially making some because the few pallidiforum hybrids, especially this one I'm thinking of, is I believe Bessiaf crossed with pallidiforum, and it's Jacqueline's, and it's just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful plant. So I want to get some of that going on here, so hopefully I can successfully cross my pallidiforum with something. Okay, here we have another regale in one of these pots. It's dried out to the point I'm seeing desiccated roots. Oopsies. It lives at the top back of the tent and it's severely underpotted, so that's sort of just what happens. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about it. This is my Anthurium draconitarum. It's a high elevation plant, so normally I wouldn't keep it at the top of a tent, but my tent doesn't get too hot and it's been doing all right up there. Main reason I have it up there is it's got the least airflow. And last time I had this plant in too much airflow, it croaked. So far so good on keeping it in that spot up at the tent. But yeah, really pretty plant. I'm hoping to get it to flower soon so I can do some hybrids with it and just really play around with these lobes. But yeah. Next up we have a Veitchii. I got this guy at my local garden center. I'm really looking forward to seeing what it turns into. It's got another little leaf on the way. Cute little roots. Yeah, just a little Veitchii. Now I have my Ace of Spades crossed with Eastern Dress from Woohoo Tropicals. It's gotten big. This is from a repot. And the petioles are starting to get the ridges of the Eastern Dress, so that's pretty fun. Yeah, very different leaf shape and veining. I wasn't really expecting it from given the mix of the parents, but you guys are gonna have to forgive me if there's any strange background noises. It's the kitten going crazy. I'm gonna step back as far as I can. Last, certainly not least, in that tent on the top shelf is my Anthurium warocqueanum. It's got a huge flower, huge leaves. It's doing another leaf center here. It's, yeah, I don't know, it's a great plant. It grows great. Definitely need to give it an up pot and see if I can get it even bigger. Until then, it'll still be absolutely monstrous. And I mean, it's so big I literally have to cut off all but like 2 leaves just so that some other things have some space in the tent. Okay, now we're moving on to that shelf right there. First off, we've got my Carla Blackier RA5X RA10. Got its pretty flower right here. Absolutely stunning foliage. One of my favorite plants. I think it really convinced me that Carlas are indeed special. It's been just such a treat. I definitely need to get this guy up potted, and I ordered some pots so I can hopefully do that before too long. Such an incredible plant. Really makes you appreciate the beauty of Anthurium. Next to it we have another Anthurium Carla Blackier. This is an RA6 crossed with an RA5. RA5 is my favorite Carla. It's unfortunately dead, but that's why I'm really happy to have 2 of the last crosses to be made with it. Great color, great leaf. I don't know, not texture, but like the leaves are very flat. Beautiful veining. This one's a little bit veinier. Kind of like it, like having that contrast between the two. Love this 6x5. It did hit caterpillar on this leaf, so I'm very excited that I'll get to start being able to do some breeding with it, because I think Carla hybrids are just so wonderful. Okay, next to it we've got a little Voldemort prop. I'm just going to fly through the props. Anthurium Ace of Spades. This guy is getting so big. It's got another leaf on the way. Let me get in there with that so you can see it. It's been like an insanely good grower. Great plant, beautiful color. Got to figure out a home for it. I don't think I'm going to give it a bucket, since I already have an Ace of Spades in a bucket. 2 Ace of Spades in buckets is a lot of space to dedicate, but might have to do it because this thing is getting huge. Here we've got my Papilolaminum RA6, and it's sizing great. Before too long it'll definitely also need a bucket, but it's been great. I have it here in the aeroid mix. I don't know, it's just taken off for me. I even propped it and it didn't have any sort of setbacks at all to this plant. It's such a great grower. Here is my NSC Dressleroy. It is doing a new leaf after throwing a bit of a tantrum, because I did give it a repot to add in the ring, and yeah, it really threw a fit, dropped all of its leaves almost like this one. This one came out, and then now it's got a new leaf on the way. Hopefully we don't lose any size, but I don't know, I'm just happy to have it growing again because I hate when this plant throws a fit because it takes it forever to get back to looking good again, and that's just because, you know, Dressleri aren't the speediest of guys. Here we've got my Ace of Spades X Cuneolence, bred by Justin Jones. You know, it's very pretty. It's taking after that Ace of Spades color with a bit more of that cunha shape and texture. But I really think it's a happy medium of the two plants. Yeah, I'm trying to, so you can get the texture in the light. Oh, great grower. It's not a caterpillar yet, but should be there shortly. I've been really enjoying growing this cross. Got a few different ones of it, and every single one turned out really nicely. And last up on that shelf, we have my No ID. Nice dark foliage. This is an emergent leaf. It's getting some good shape to it. Try to hold up. Yeah, I don't know, it's established well in the pot. It's great seeing it take advantage of the huge root system it's built. And we are at caterpillar, so hopefully we can get some flowers on this guy soon. We'll take a closer look at that. Yeah. Going absolutely great. Okay, now we're gonna do the floor of this tent. Starting off with, we've got my luxuriant. It's growing great. It's turned into a bit of a beast. Got to give it an up pot soon. Yeah, it's been flowered. It's flowered a couple times now. Haven't yet to do anything with the flowers. That should start soon. It's got a beautiful platinum color. Grew this guy from a seedling. No, I've been very happy with it. Oh gosh, it's getting so heavy. It is like causing the net pot to sink into the reservoir. Oh, I think this is one of the ones I'm gonna, when I up pot it and it recovers, I might move it to ambient. Next, we've got my monster hobgoblin. So this is a hybrid of luxuriance crossed with Dressleri, crossed again with Dressleri. And that first Lux Dress is called the Black Magic. So this was a plant created by Jay Vanini. Let's see, there's the previous leaf and the flower it's put out. It's very similar to the Dressleri flower if you're familiar with that. Now this is the most recent leaf. It's getting quite big. One of my favorite Anthurium, if not my favorite. Here's my Anthurium Bevep, or Antilochii. It's a little bit of rough shape. It's done 3 inflows in a row now, plus a 4th, plus a 5th. So I've been breeding it into the ground in an effort to see what happens. And other than a little bit of cosmetic issues, I haven't really had too many problems. And a lot of the cosmetic issues are actually from the leaves rubbing on the substrate or other leaves of the pot as they emerge, just because of how short the petioles are and how deep the plant was buried. Yeah, great plant, love it. It's made me a bunch of beautiful hybrids this grow season, so very happy. And, you know, it's got some more. I attempted to pollinate it with Paldiflorum. I doubt it'll take, but if it doesn't, then the plant will finally get a break. Here is my Anthurium SP Nove DF. The DF stands for Dewey Fisk. This is just like an absolutely stunning Anthurium. I think it's like just one of the most striking ones out there. You know, it has the dark velvet, wide sinus, it really does it all. This plant, you know, here's the previous leaf, it was a little bit messed up. And the leaf before that. So I got a good size up on this leaf, pardon me, and that was just because it was making the transition from the big white pots into one of these net pots, and the roots seem to have established nicely now, and yeah, getting good growth out of it. This is just absolutely one of the, you know, one of our prides and joys. It's just an incredible plant. Yeah, and it's getting to a really good size now. Here we have my main Anthurium Ace of Spades. This is, I think, the darker of the two, the more extreme. It doesn't have hardly any veining. It's just, you know, pitch black. This plant is incredible. Such a treat. It's doing another leaf. So it's been growing pretty fast for me. Oh, here you can see the backs of the plant. Nothing crazy on the backs. Gets some red veins when it's more of an emergent, but yeah. This plant's been pretty good to grow. As you can see, no ace box in sight. And I do attribute that to the feeding. Yeah, this plant, it's yet to flower for me. I think part of that's my fault. I did take a cut of it. And I find cuts can really set back your flowering. Part of me regrets it, part of me doesn't. Because it's always nice to have backups of your favorite plants. And this is certainly one of my favorites. Here we have my Anthurium Papilolaminum Voldemort X-Self from Woohoo Tropicals. This guy is such a beast. Let's see, it's got this wiggly inflow up front with the berries on it. That's a mix of this plant with the RA6. So they both have such good lobes and bumping that it should make an absolutely beautiful pap. Yeah, this leaf out in front here, it's emergent, so it will darken down some more. Yeah, this plant has been one of the most vigorous and fast-growing anthurium I've ever had the pleasure of keeping. It's got a gnarly stem, but this plant is wonderful. And it's built a beast of a root system. Last plant in the tents is this Anthurium Fort Sherman XL from J. Vanini. So this thing is like my OG big pap. It is incredible. It's made me a bunch of hybrids this summer. It's now throwing a new leaf. You can see it has a beautiful wide sinus. And it's flowering again, so I have some plans for that. That'll be a lot of fun, but it's good to have it back. It did a couple hybrids in a row, then I repotted it, and it just sort of decided to take some time for itself, which is, you know, completely understandable. And now that it's established again, I'm getting growth, and yeah, this is really, I'd say, like the plant that made me head over heels in love with the Anthurium genus. I feel like for anyone who, you know, got a pap or has a pap that they love, you sort of get it. Like once you experience just how nice these paps can be, it's really hard to go back. Okay, that concludes the tents. Now we're on to the bins. Okay, in the first bin we have some One Lingeri props of my main plant there. They bounced back and are working on their first leaves now. Got a Red Crystal X Luxurians from Natasha. She was very nice and gifted me this. She also gifted me this Solanum Ulianum. Might have said that wrong. I can't exactly remember the pronunciation or spelling off the top of my head. Pretty, it's got this like purple hairs to it. And I think my goal is to eventually have it cascade off a higher shelf in one of the tents. Got a bunch of Cuneo lens props in here as well. Clydameoides prop, because like I feel like every bin has a Clydameoides prop. This one's also growing some moss. Yeah, pretty uneventful bin. Okay, this bin's got a nice Cuneo lens that I'm growing out. It's at Cataphil, going crazy, and a dry Warraquanum prop. Should probably water that. Another Cuneo prop, Clydameoides. We've got an Ace of Spades crossed with a BVAP seedling. Here is my SP purple. I keep it under a dome in a bin. Just a little dude in here. Oh, it's got a new leaf on the way. I definitely won't be able to show you just because of how small it is, but yeah, here's my SP purple. Got this guy from Tyler, yes, Tillian, or however you say it, on Instagram. Okay, in this bin, got a bunch of my seedlings. Here's an example. I potted up this Carla DF. This is my Carla Blackia crossed obviously with my DF. Yeah, here's one of the couple I've decided to grow out for myself. A few more like this. You know, I've got a pot of some pap seedlings that were showing some variegation. I've got a few of those in here. Here's one of the paps I bred. Oh, I've got my the BVEP paps I've decided to keep in here as well. And then like I was saying, like lots of pots of these ones with a little bit of warping from blister variegation that I'm growing out to see if they hold it. Here we've got a prop of my RA6. It's going strong. It's bleached to all hell because it's too close to a grow light, but you know, it's growing great as well. Looks like the second growth point it had rotted, but here is this super dark King of Spades seedling I'm holding on to. But like, look how tiny it is and how black. A little bit of a slow grower, but I think the color makes up for it. I don't know if you're familiar with King of Spades at this size. This one is crazy dark. And like, you could tell right away from when it was a seedling because I got all of these as seeds. Here's a little piece of that No ID I showed. Oh my gosh. Here's this incredible Forgetii from Natasha. I love it and I'm so excited to get to grow it out. Here is my Anthurium Red Spider. I know it doesn't have the round, it's not peltate. The plant it comes from is peltate. I saw what this plant looked like. It was a butt cut of my, my friends. And yeah, I'm just excited to see it get the, you know, mature shape. Because right now it does have the red veining. I hope it shows on camera. It's so hard to tell if the pinks and the reds show. Next to it we have my Voodoo Child. It looks like this because I dared repot it, so it's probably going to suck back every leaf. There's good new root growth and it looks like it's pushing out a new leaf soon, but till then I get to look at this really angry Voodoo Child. And oh, the Voodoo Child is is it Regal Dress or is it Dress Regal? I'm trying to remember. I can't remember. Created by J. Vanini. Starting off the next bin, we've got a weirdo pap. It just grows these really messed up leaves. Kind of love it. Don't know if it's going to continue doing it. It's got another leaf on the way. It's just done these messed up leaves ever since it dropped its growth point and shot a new growth point. So I don't know, pretty cool. It's an LG F2, so that's a Lagucatan second filial generation. A butt cut of a Voldemort. Ooh, this thing's looking cool. A Luxurians crossed with a Crystal Mag. Here we've got a Wonder Boy prop. I'm trying to get this thing to root. For some reason, if I find the Wonder Boys, the red crystals, when you're growing them from a cut, they throw out so many leaves before they start to root. I got this guy at the Secret Plant Show. It's supposed to be a Delta Force cross with Luxurians. I think it's just a Delta Force X Self, and I got it from Vincent along with those other ones I was showing you. But he showed me the mother plant, and it just had like almost a round flat sinus. So decided to pick it up and potentially breed with it. Got another little prop of a pap, and here we've got a piece of Tyler's Forgetti Eye. So this is another one of those nice Forgetti Eyes with Tyler's has no veins. It's really nice, very dark. So again, good one to breed with. Okay, that concludes this bin. Here we've got a butt cut of my Fort Sherman Self. Don't know if it's going to do anything. Quechua Queen. Oh no, this is a Forgetti Eye cross with a Lux. Should probably toss this guy. It hasn't really done anything. I think the node is gone. Here we've got my RG number 2 X Self from Grant. Starting to get pretty. It's got another leaf on the way. Yeah, it's been a fast grower. I'd like it to start sizing. I'm hoping it's now done the Dressler thing where it putters about at this size and then it starts to upsize and gain the color. This leaf has been pretty, as long as the next leaf looks a little bit bigger. Next we got this Cuneiolence PM5 X PM3. This is it's at Cataphil. It's got a good sized pot, so hopefully this is the one out of the batch I got that I'm wanting to breed with the most. That's just because it's the darkest. It also got good texture. I wish it wasn't wet so you could get a better view of it, but alas. Here's this plant. And then I guess I can give you a color comparison. Here is I'd say the second darkest. But this one has a very pretty emergent. You can see the two next to each other, sort of get an idea showing how much darker this Cunha is than its sibling. Here we've got that Rehab King of Spades I did a video on. It has great new roots down into the substrate, so it is doing very well and should bounce back before too long. Here is what's left of my NSE port. It got pretty bad stem rot, and I'm hoping I caught it in time to potentially save it. It's in a sad state, so hopefully it can bounce back. Here we've got my Alocasia Frydek. I need to deal with this plant. It's just been in purgatory for a while, but it's now growing green again, which is good. For a while there, it was just doing white. We've got a little Ace of Spades crossed with the Cuneiolence. Here we've got a couple more Ace of Spades crossed with Cuneiolence. Probably a different one. Like I said, I got a few. And then here we have a Pap hybrid crossed with an Ace of Spades. This was a collab between Dustin and Maudine, 2 Anthurium hybridizers in Canada. Okay, got an Ace of Spades dark form. This is a prop I'm growing. Got some more Wenlingeri props. Prop of my Fort Sherman X Self. Oh, I got a little prop of my Wenlingeri, my Rhodolantianum. It's doing its first leaf. Here we have a Raven's Heart. So this is a Ace of Spades X Pap or Pap X Ace of Spades. This is a gift from Natasha. It's got another leaf on the way. Really pretty dark plant. Here we've got a little Rhodo butt. Doesn't seem to be doing anything yet. Then we've got God, this thing is nasty looking. Ace of Spades crossed with the Cuneiolence. I gave it a repot and it's continued to do the weirdest thing. It's been doing it since seedling. These like little stunted orange rimmed leaves. So don't know what that's about. I'm probably just gonna let it keep doing its thing. Like I said, I tried repotting and restricting nutrients to see if it was potentially a fertilizer burn. Didn't seem to make a difference. So yeah, very curious. Got some more little weird pap seedlings that I'm growing out to see if they hold. Another set. These ones have the only green they get is in their primary veins. It's very interesting. So I'm hopeful they will survive. Here we've got a Papia hybrid crossed with an Ace of Spades, another one from Dustin and Maudine. My cute little Pap X Bess. Got some little Pallitiflorum prop. Gonna do something with this, I have a plan. Got some little queen props. I've got my little mint Pap X Bess. It's very cute. Oh, it's got another leaf on the way. And this one's actually an emergent still, so that's really fun. this thing's growing at a pretty good pace. Yeah, then just a lot more of the Pap X Bess in here, so not gonna bother showing you guys the same plant, 20 different shades, you know. Showed the, you know, a couple of the pretty ones and the variegated one. Got a Splendidum in this bin. It's doing a cute little emergent leaf. Yeah, good plant, it's got a wonderful texture. Yeah, it's been growing really well. Don't really have any complaints. Cute little plant. Got a Clydemioides, of course. Got a leafless Clydemioides. Got my Lapoanum, beautiful, huge plant, clearly, you know. Totally not just a tiny little growth point. I moved it somewhere way too warm and I fried it. Won't be making that mistake again. Got a little mangy debilis prop. Got another Splendidum. It's starting to grow again, which is good. And then we've got this debilis, which I absolutely love. Love this plant. It's such wonderful color, texture. It really does it all, and it's really wonderful. Yeah, good little debilis, and it's got a new leaf on the way. So I'm very excited to, you know, continue growing this plant. Definitely one of my favorites. It's just so pretty. It's got this like dark blue color. This next bin is dedicated to this plant and all of its props. This is my Forgetii crossed with Bevep from Woohoo Tropicals. I really think I got the best of both worlds, and it's flowering for me, so I think do something fun with it. And like I was saying, the bin is just full of props of this plant, so nothing really to show you other than this guy. Great. I really think it just looks like the perfect Forgetii. This is the last bin. Got a Clydemioides prop, of course. We've got a queen prop, and then the rest of the bin is taken up by a bunch more Clydemioides props. This really sad little Cunha prop that I'm trying to rehab. Oh, it's got my little TC Delta Force that, oh god, it's just been in. And then we've got my, what do you call it, little variegated Bambino. Oh, it's got a new leaf with a good amount of variegation on it. Hopefully I can just keep this thing alive. That's all I want, is just keep it alive. So tiny. Yeah, there's the last bin. I got seedlings to show you, and then some ambient plants. That's it. We're almost there, we're in the home stretch. Now we've got some takeout containers with seedlings. Not much to see, but I'll show you guys. This is my Bevep crossed with Nova DF. The yields are pretty low on DF hybrids, so don't probably really expect to get more than this ever. Cute little guys. You can really see how the DF influences the shape even from the seedling size. Nothing to look at in this one, but there's just some Carla seeds. Here's the one I got to show you guys. This is the Best Af crossed with Bevep. You can see a cute little container of these. Yeah, they should be really cute. I'm already so obsessed with them, and I'm only just starting to see, you know, the first leaves. And I find things get most exciting around 5 leaves. Okay, I've got another prop box here. Here's a seedling tray. Growing some things from a few different hybrids in here. Over here where I'm pointing, we've got some Bevep Paps. In the middle, lone seedling, I've got this one right here. It's a hybrid I did with Justin, potting it out there. And then over on this side is another hybrid. Just how I like to sprout seeds sometimes. I do a mix. Some I do in the trays, some I do in the takeout containers. First ambient plant, I've got this Australian tree fern. I'm not sure of the exact species. This is a new addition. So far so good, it's been growing great, and I've just got it in my pond in a self-watering pot, so I'm really excited to see how it does. Next ambient plant is my Monstera albo. A classic, love this plant. It's really great that I've managed to get it into ambient. I moved it straight from the tent to ambient, and no sort of really issues at all, and it's been going great since. Also got my Burley Marks Flame in ambient, and I moved it straight from the tent, and didn't really do anything to acclimate, and it's been good so far. Big reason I moved it out of the tent is I brought out a 40-watt bar to put these guys under, just to give them a little bit more light than they're getting in the tent. So I figured I'd sacrifice humidity for a lot more light. My last plant I'm keeping in ambient is this Jade Syndapsus. I don't know, I'm a big fan. It's the only Syndapsus I own, probably the only one I will own. It's just, for some reason, this plant really speaks to me. I don't know if it's the dark foliage, but I've always liked this plant. Just got it growing in ambient and self-watering pond. I think I'm actually gonna just wrap it instead. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you watching here to the end. Thank you. Have a really good rest of your weekend. Bye.